Good morning. We're going to make delicious and nutritious lentil soup. The first thing I like to do when I make lentil soup is I like to measure it out. And what we're doing today is we're going to make a large quantity. The reason being, I have a lot of friends that really like this soup. And you can go ahead and make a lot up, share it, or else freeze it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. This is a dry measuring cup, and this is what we use to do dry ingredients. Now, after I put it in there, I like to go ahead and rinse it, because you don't know how clean your lentils are. And I'll set these over here, but I will finish rinsing them in a few minutes. The next thing I like to do is prepare my vegetables. I have went ahead and scraped the carrots, and to scrape, except this one, I saved it to show you what I'm talking about. For those who have not seen the earlier videos, just take a potato peeler and go down lightly, alright? And it'll clean it really well. Now, it's easy if you have a food processor, you can process a lot of this together, but if you don't, and I know college students tell me, well, Dee, I can't afford to buy this, I can't afford to buy that. You don't have to buy a lot of equipment. You just need a good knife and a cutting board. What I like to use on a cutting board, I like to use a plate. The reason being, you can put it in the dishwasher and it will really get good and clean. Wood cutting boards, a lot of times, will hold certain things you don't want them to hold. Especially, never, if you're still eating meat, never use the cutting board that you cut your meat on to also cut your vegetables on. It's not a good idea. Okay, we can just cut these in small pieces, and you can do the same thing with the carrots. You can cut them in small pieces. Alright, then when it gets down here, it's going to be a little larger. You can quarter it. Cut it in half. Alright, then cut it again. Alright, then lie it down. And then cut. Alright? That's how you can do it if you're going to do it all by hand. And I'm going to move these over here so I can show you a couple other things. Now, when it comes to onions, what do onions do for you? Onions do something very powerful and very good. Onions actually prevent conjunctivitis. And that's when the tear ducts get clogged up. So, you want to make sure you peel a few onions occasionally. There was an outbreak of conjunctivitis at Harvard a few years ago. And I thought, they're not peeling onions. Okay, we're just going to take the outer skin off. Here again, what I do sometimes, I get real lazy and I just do it all in the food processor. But some of you do not have food processors, so I'm going to show you how to do it without a food processor. Takes a little longer, but that's okay. You can cut it in half first, then lie it on its side, cut it again, and always watch your fingers, and then cut. And you have it nice and chopped. Okay? Alright. I'll set this over here for just a minute. And then there is garlic. Oh, garlic is like the king of nutrients. Garlic is a natural antibiotic. Super, super good for you. What a lot of chefs do when they're working with garlic, they'll just put it down and they'll pound it. And on this table I cannot pound it because the table's not that sturdy. So what I'm going to do is break it apart. And these onions are doing the job. And then I like to take the little top off. And having a sharp knife always helps. My knife is getting a little dull. Now you can pick up knives just about anywhere. Discount stores, grocery stores I find usually have some fairly decent knives. You don't have to spend a lot of money on a knife. Now there are knives they say that will never get dull. Well, sometimes they do get dull, but sometimes the ones with the perforation, a lot of times they don't get dull as quickly as the others. But you can always just get a little small sharpening blade. Alright, now one way you can do this, you can just put it down on your plate and just give it a firm push. Alright, and it smashes it. Then what I like to do is go ahead and chop it a little finer. Now there are garlic presses, but I find a lot of times the garlic presses keep some of the garlic that I really want to use. Alright, we've got these done, we've got those done. Our recipe calls for parsley also. Now the parsley, what I have done with it, I've put it in water with a little salt to make sure we have everything off of it. Okay? Bugs like to get in parsley. And you just rinse it and then drain it and it's ready to use. Okay? And you can also do the same thing with cilantro or any of those type of things. Now, we have potatoes, which this recipe also calls for. Some people like to use a potato peeler, and that's fine to peel your potatoes. Or you can do a knife. A lot of it depends on how you were taught. My mother just taught us using a knife. And so you peel your potatoes. Now potatoes do oxidize very quickly. So you might want to peel your potatoes after you get your soup going. But I just want to show you how to prepare these things right now. Alright? And what I like to do after I peel my potatoes, even though I have rinsed these potatoes, I like to just lightly rinse them again. So you make sure you have all the dirt off. Okay? Then you can lay it down on a plate or you can just cut it. Alright, then you're just going to cut it again. Or, like I say, you can do all this in the food processor. Okay, let me put some of these over here. Alright, you want the potatoes not real small, so it's really kind of better to do these. Just do them with a knife rather than the food processor, because the food processor gets them a little too small. Okay, so we have our lentils. We're going to